Nick R. Murphy here with you again with episode 2 of Nocturnal Newz Film Review, the show where we deep dive into the vast world of modern independent horror. Will we come out unscathed? I sure hope so. I just gotta remember if things get a little heavy, I gotta remember that it's only a movie. It's only a movie. But will that mantra save me from the terror the film possesses in my dreams? I'm sure I'll be fine. Now, today's film is a bit of a doozy. Yeah, I wasn't sure what to make of it at first, but the more I thought about it, the more it got to me. The name of the film is Evil Under the Skin, and with a title like that, you'd think that it's going to be wall-to-wall creepiness from one minute to the next. But that's not exactly how it starts. It kind of starts like a low-budget Hallmark movie or something, with this twinkly, wholesome piano music setting things off. It like sets the tone, going bloop 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 bloop. I can't. I'm butchering the melody, but it's basically it's a piano going twinkly twinkly twinkly. And for a second, I was like, am I watching the right movie? However, patience is a virtue, and things get disturbing and unsettling real fast after the opening credits. I'll go ahead and break down the gist of the film for you without giving too much away, while still letting curious viewers know what they're in for. If they decide to give this flick a shot. Okay, so Evil Under the Skin stars Helen Uddy, Carl Bailey, Tim O'Hearn, Donna Hamblin, Angela Barajas, and Colton Baumgartner. It was directed by Jeffrey Schneider, who also served as editor, cinematographer, and one of the producers of the film. The script was written by Luc Brenier, who's had a hand in writing quite a few VOD horror anthology movies like Dead Ink, Hate, Gore Theater, Home Videos 2 and 3, and Faces of Fear, none of which I've had the chance to check out, sadly. But based on my scroll through Brenier's IMDb page, it appears Evil Under the Skin is the only full feature credit to his name. But I'm sure he has more in the way, because the thing about a lot of these indie horror writers and directors is that they're always churning out content. I've been following the work of guys like Harley Wallen and Rene Perez, and they bring out like 3-4 movies a year. It's insane to me. That's what I'd like to do. I fancy myself as kind of a screenwriter, aspiring filmmaker myself, plus actor, and I'd love to pump out 4 movies a year. The Japanese director Takashi Miike, who did Audition and Ichi the Killer, that guy once brought out like 8 movies in 2002 alone, and that's just crazy to me. But I love it. I love it. That's the kind of prolific output that a true blue dyed-in-the-wool filmmaker puts out on a regular basis. Yeah, of course, there's a danger there of a potential dip in quality from film to film, and that's why folks like Tarantino or Paul Thomas Anderson or David Fincher only come out with movies once every 5 years or so. They don't want their quality to suffer or for their style to become old hat or something. That's something I'd like to avoid in my stuff as well. That's what I'm working towards. That's my professional ambition. So when I watch movies like Evil Under the Skin or anything else for that matter, I'm always taking mental notes that it informs my own style as a writer slash wannabe director. And speaking of style, the style on display in Evil Under the Skin is wildly unconventional. The first word that springs to my mind is Lynchian, and I'll get a little more into that in a bit because I have a lot to say there. The film opens on a quote over a black screen that reads, "The saddest thing about betrayal is that it never comes from your enemies." And I went ahead and put on my detective hat and hit up Google to find out what that quote was attributed to or who said it. But it appears to be an anonymous source. But one result credited the quote to the late SoundCloud rapper Extension, or Triple Extension. He's dead now. But I'm pretty sure this quote has been floating around long before that dude was ever born. So I guess we'll never know. Maybe it was Ernest Hemingway that said it. It sounds like something Hemingway would say. Probably said it before he scratched that itch on the back of his head with a shotgun. If you know what that reference is from, be sure to put in the comments there below. Anywho, that's how Evil Under the Skin starts. And part of the fun of this flick for me was trying to figure out how this quote related to what happens in the movie. And honestly, I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. Anyway, The quote fades, cue credits, and then after the credits, it cuts to a beautiful day where an older woman is sunbathing, and that up-tempo, twinkly piano music I mentioned earlier plays, and then it stops, and some ominous music comes on. The screen starts flickering and quick edits, and then the lady is startled by another woman who turns out to be her daughter. They talk for a little while, character development, this, that, and the other. And the mother and daughter seem to have a pretty healthy relationship. But is everything as it seems? Quick answer there is no. And you'll find out why as this tale of terror unfolds. Um, I'm just going to say it right on the outset here. This movie is very strange. I'll hand it to Midnight Releasing, who put out the film. They know how to find some twisted stuff. And it's kind of difficult for me to describe the weirdness on display here without giving the whole movie away, but I'll do my best. I'll paint a picture of just how dark and demented this flick is. The short synopsis of this film, as stated on IMDb and the Midnight Releasing webpage, is a mother and daughter head off for a secluded weekend to reconnect. But little do they know the sordid past of the home they're staying in, let alone the strangeness it attracts as they descend into madness. Okay, I'll offer a little elaboration on the strangeness and madness in question here, and tell you that there are a couple of characters, a brother and sister, a very creepy-looking brother and sister, hanging out in the woods, and they have dark plans for the mother and daughter at the center of the story. This brother-sister duo has a real incestuous vibe coming off of them. They act more like husband and wife than siblings, and that adds another layer of pure disturbance to the proceedings. Speaking of which, the mother and daughter have an odd relationship as well. The daughter is in her early 20s or around that, and she's always walking around with her bathrobe open, with her boobs, her very nice boobs on display, just casually having conversations with her mother, who drinks like a fish, by the way. The whole movie, she's getting trashed on booze, and the inebriation that she's suffering from makes things that more abstract. This is a total art film, and that brings me back around to the whole Lynchian vibe the flick wears on its sleeve. This is more like Inland Empire David Lynch, not Blue Velvet David Lynch. But unlike Inland Empire, Evil Under the Skin ends up making sense by the end. And that's a relief to me, because I was sure that things weren't going to tie up in a way that made sense, and I can't abide movies that throw in anticlimactic or ambiguous endings just for the hell of it. It makes me think the filmmakers just ran out of ideas or money, or just wanted to give the middle finger to the audience, I hate it. It's one of my major pet peeves as a viewer. And for a lot of the time, I thought that was where this movie was heading. But that's all misdirection. There's a puzzle here that needs to be put together, and it all comes full circle by the time the final act rolls around. So kudos to the filmmakers for making the ending of this flick count, because once you find out what's really going on, you have to go back and look over the film for a second viewing and see how everything fits together. So it's kind of an interactive experience for the viewer in a sense, because there's little clues planted all throughout the flick here and there, and it all relates to what's behind a locked door in the cabin the mother and daughter are staying in. There are secrets untold in this house, and the reality is, for lack of a better word, brutal. It's just brutal. So yeah, that's the gist of Midnight Releasing's Evil Under the Skin. Interesting side note, this movie was shot in Salem, Oregon, around where all those wildfires were raging about a month ago, and there's a strong possibility that all the locations where this film was shot have gone up in flames. I couldn't get confirmation either way, but the idea of it is just haunting. Kind of makes me think this flick is somewhat cursed, which can only add to its legacy down the line. It's one of those movies I go back and forth on. Did I love it or did I hate it? It's going to go one way or another for anyone who watches it. Certainly not for every taste, but if you like films that give you a surreal journey through the abstract dimension of evil under the skin behind our modern world, be sure to check this out. As for a rating, I give it 57 goblins on a scale of 1 to potato. It's available now on VOD wherever films are available. I caught this flick on Prime. It was a $4.99 rental. Definitely worth it if you want something off the beaten path of mainstream big budget blockbuster brouhaha. If you like surreal stories that are obscure and mess with your mind, you could do a hell of a lot worse than this, for sure, definitely. So the trailer for Evil Under the Skin and streaming options are in the description down below. If you dig my reviews and you want to see more in the future, be sure to give us a like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Of course, ring that bell for notifications. And that's all I got for you today. This is Nick R. Murphy signing off, and I'll catch you on the next episode of Nocturnal Newz Film Review. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.